my god, that actually worked. Hi there. Well, I did say I was going to have a go at doing the fire drill, which I've done once successfully before, but never with these materials. So this is going to be a bit of a sort of a suck it and see. We'll see what happens with it. And I'm going to take you through the process I've been taught and sort of share with you what I can. So what I've got here is a piece of lime, which has been split off. I've actually got the middle piece of this as well. This is just an offcut, which is not what you'd normally use, but because I've got it, I'm going to try it with that. A hazelwood wand or drill, which is rounded on one end and pointed on the other, and then the bearing block, which bears down on the drill, with a suitable socket in there, into which I'm going to crush some of this goosegrass, which is absolutely fantastic as a lubricant because there are also quite a lot of natural oils in it, which will help to lubricate this. The idea is obviously we don't want any friction at this end, but we want lots of friction at this end, which is what's going to make us ember. And then I've got a bird's nest here, which is a little bit unwieldy. It's from grass which has just been collected from around the lake over there. It's been cut recently. It is quite dry. We had it by the fire earlier on, so it should catch a spark quite well. And then something called an ember extender, which are these catkins that we found yesterday when walking around. And what these do is take the very small and fragile ember that is produced by this process and then help to magnify that and then turn it into something which will catch the bird's nest. And then we go through the normal lighting procedure of small twigs, medium, large twigs, bigger logs, and off we go. So the first thing I've got to do is to make a dent in my hearth. And the way you do this is go back about 5 mil from the edge, identify exactly where that's going to be, take out your knife, and carefully, cutting away from your body, make a dent in the surface. And this is what will receive the drill in the first instance. So just by carving out a shallow impression in there with the tip of my blade, something like that. So the next thing to do is to actually bed this in. So we're not actually going to cut the channel in yet. We just want to get the process started, make sure everything is set up. Well, the other thing I've got to show you obviously is that is the bow, and this is a piece of ash which has been bent with a piece of good quality paracord on it, and somewhere around here I've got the little tray which is going to catch the ember. So that's my entire setup. I'm just going to move back a little bit and then I'll see if we can make this work. So first of all, get my foot in position and make sure the hearth is nice and stable. It's nice sometimes to have a nice little impression in the ground so it doesn't rock around. Once you're actually in place and you're bowing, you don't want anything to be getting in the way of you making an ember. And rocking and moving around can actually take the ember and the hard work you've done and undo all your hard work. Next thing to do, get a bit of the goosegrass, crush it up nicely, get it into the block at the top, squish it in there nice and tight. That should stop the friction at the top. And then taking the drill, a little bit of downward pressure on it, and oops, put it through and twist so the rounded end is downwards. Actually, I want the string a little bit further down because it does tend to ride up, and one of the real techniques with this is to ensure that you keep the string quite low to the ground. Then with your knee nicely out the way and everything else, bearing block in place. The secret here is to keep your wrist pressed tightly against your shin so that everything moves, and then long, slow rotations of the bow. We're not trying to make fire yet, just want to get our technique right, get that initial hole born. Starting to catch a little bit now. And you can just smell, you might be able to see some little wisps of smoke coming out there, which means that everything is starting to look okay. There's a bit of smoke, and you can see from this that I've got a nice black end on there, a little bit of a nubbin on the end, which I'm going to take off because we don't want to cause a forcing down into the thing. Bearing block is nice and cool, so that's been well insulated. And now we move on to the next stage. So what I'm going to do now is put a V in there, which is going to capture all the dust that comes out, the hot dust that comes out, and that's where our ember will form. So give us a few seconds, I'll show you how to do this. Put a little vertical notch in there, and then across. We simply divide in half, and then in half again. Same on the other side, quarters, and then an eighth. And that is the amount that we need to take out. So I'm just going to work my knife through there now. The important thing when doing this is not to go too deep into the dent here. We want to come just slightly in front of the centre point of rotation. If it goes too far back, what will happen is the drill will gently push itself out. If it's not far enough back, however, you won't get the swarf actually coming out and making the ember. So it's a bit of a delicate balance, and I'm sure one of those things that over the years I'm going to learn in much more detail. I've been told as well that it's best to use a knife for doing this rather than a saw. My native instinct would be to actually pick up a saw. This might make a nice little cut in there, but the reason we wouldn't necessarily do that is because it will leave a jagged edge. We don't want anything to impair getting the wood away from the ember when it's formed. So the more that we can do to smooth this edge off and make it nice and simple to get the ember out, the better the result is likely to be. So that's just about right now. Tad deeper, I think. Nice and smooth sides. Just about perfect. There we go. So we've got a nice mark in the centre there, and our V neatly cut in there. So I'll centre this board in the place I found it before, and we'll make sure that the hearth, wherever I put it there, sorry, the tray goes nicely in place. That will catch our ember. Make sure everything's nicely out of the way. Also, just make sure that our wood supply is all ready, because once we actually get the bird nest alight, we need to be quick and accurate in getting our wood and capturing the things done. Strangely enough, once you've actually got the ember going, you've got plenty of time to let that ember form properly before you actually need to start putting it into there. So we're not going to rush that bit. The bit after we will do. Okay, so here we go. Spot more goosegrass. Get my knee nicely out of the way, so it's out of the range of the bow. Make sure my hearth is well set, my foot's solidly on it so it's not going to move around. It's really important to get everything set up properly and not rush this stage, because you go to all the hard work of making the ember and then you knock it over because you haven't been thinking properly, and it can be quite frustrating. So starting off slowly with a little bit of downward pressure, just letting things build up gently. A bit more tension on the screen. I've got a little bit of smoke starting now. So now I can see a little bit of char coming through. Not too much downward pressure. Long strokes, trying to use the whole length of the bow. And there's the smoke coming through now. I can see the char starting to build up around the outside, which tells me that I'm getting char in the hollow. A bit more speed, a bit more heat. So let's stop there. Now, that is still smoking after a few seconds, which indicates that I've got an ember in there, which is pretty awesome. So I'm now going to carefully remove my foot, and then a tiny piece of twig is going to try and roll this back. Leaving that in place. That is beautiful. Okay, just going to add this last bit of char that's here, because the bigger the ember that we get, the more likely we are to be successful. And then I don't want to blow on it because I could very easily disrupt it. It's not formed very well yet. Just by gently waving my hand, I can see there's a beautiful ember forming there now. The prevailing wind's going down as well, so that's helping to form the thing. I'm just going to gently pull everything together and let everything develop in its own time. Yeah, that's doing nicely. Okay, so we'll move on to the next stage now, which is our bird's nest, which is just going to form around. I think when they were cutting this, they had some thistles in there, which is making the whole experience a little bit more pleasant. A couple of these ember extenders. As the seeds in these are quite a lot of oil in them, so this is what helps to just get the burn processes going more. Make a little cradle for a little ember to sit in there, and just make sure that everything is set up. Small, medium and large twigs. Ember extender in the middle of my bird's nest. So let's give this a go. Gently encourage that to fall. There we go. Here we go. There we are. And then we begin gently encouraging it. See the ember extender taking over now. Oof. Get those twigs on quickly, make the most of that heat. Now the grass that's underneath is still smouldering quite nicely. If I put more air in there, it will give me a couple more bursts of flame, so I don't need to panic yet, even though it doesn't seem to be burning particularly fast. There's plenty of heat in there now. I think that's going to be alright. Yeah, it's starting to catch up now. So now we can start moving to our bigger twigs. There we go, we've got the flames rising above, which means that the twigs are catching nicely. I think we're probably off. Not out of the woods yet, but we're certainly getting there. Yeah, nice little chimney forming there now. And again, it was always my indication of these things is you can start to see the flames rising nicely above the height of the wood, which means that you've got a good burning process. Height is always important. It helps to lift the flames, pulls fresh air in, gets the embers, the core of the fire burning a lot better, helps to dry out any slightly damp wood and get your fire going nicely. So I think you kind of all know what happens next. We add more fire and more wood and get bigger fire and more wood and get bigger. But in simple terms, that's how you use a bow drill to make a fire. Thank you very much.